All right, thank you, Martha. Okay, let's just summarize a little bit right here. 7-minute statement by President Obama. He talked about opening our hearts and our prayers for the families of the grieving officers who were killed in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. President Obama talked about the Dallas killer. He also talked about today's killer. And then, Dana, he also cautioned about the overheated political rhetoric that we may experience while we're here in Cleveland. Your thoughts?
I thought it was a different speech that you heard from the president, and we know that, and he mentioned it, that in the last week he's been spending some time with law enforcement, and he said that he was doing a lot more listening than he was talking. There was something else that you didn't hear in this speech. There was no call for gun control in this speech, and I think that maybe he has learned that immediate reaction is not welcome, especially when we have a situation. I don't know if this is a crisis. You could say that these incidents are maybe not related, but they don't know that. And so I thought that the speech that he gave just now was a responsible one. He doesn't have a lot of answers. That's why he didn't take questions. Sometimes he does take questions when they don't have answers, and it leads to more problems. So from a presidential communication standpoint, in a moment of leadership, I thought the president did a really nice job there.
Hey, Greg, the president pointed out he was in Dallas 5 days ago, and now here we are again 5 days later, another police law enforcement shooting, killing. Why so often? What's going on?
You know, I feel like we've done this so many times, and I talk about this a lot, about the road to infamy is much easier than the road to triumph and the road to success for losers. Is that if we, as a kind of a media monster, continue to devote attention to acts of destruction, which guarantee an immortality for people who cannot achieve anything. And I'm not just talking about this. I'm talking about mass killings in general. Can guarantee that your name will be known forever. There were movies made about Columbine, sympathetic movies about Dylan Klebold. And people buy the paintings of serial killers,
well, the
celebrities.
Cover story of Rolling Stone.
Put the bomber on the cover, and Johnny Depp bought a picture by the that pedophile for his house. People glorify evil. The interesting thing about this is I do agree that it's nice to hear him talk about unity, but it should have happened sooner, because for the longest time when there was strife and there was division, we were told over and over again that it was necessary for people to get out there and no justice, no peace. And now when this happens, it's like, whoa, we got to temper our words. We don't want to have any inflammatory rhetoric. But there was a lot of inflammatory rhetoric coming from Black Lives Matter, coming from the Al Sharptons and the Reverend Wrights of the world. And now when we have consequences, when we have dead police officers, suddenly it's like, whoa. And it has gotten to such an absurd point that if you say all lives matter, that's unseemly. It's like, oh my word. It's like how dare you? All lives matter is not. If that offends you, there's something wrong with you.
Hey, KG, right minutes before President Obama made his delivery of the 7-minute speech, we believe we learned that this killer's name was Gavin Long, who had a birthday today.
Today, I
29 years old, turned 29. Possibly a former military guy.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
There were some reports and intelligence coming out in terms of observing his tactical skills, that there was many that believed that he had military training just from the way that he did these executions. And now some of the initial reports are suggesting that he may have been a Marine and been in that field of service. It's really disturbing to see this. You would have thought, my God, the horror of Dallas would have been enough to shut this down. But you see this today, a young man potentially trained by our military, creating these horrible acts of violence and fear in Baton Rouge, and you just think to yourself, why has it gotten to this point? I'll echo Dana's sentiments to say that I was happy to hear the president talk about unifying and not turn it into divisive political rhetoric about ideology or about gun control. The time for that is long gone.
Okay. Hey, Juan, I understand Hillary Clinton just came out with a statement, either a tweet or a statement, saying we must stand together. An attack on on law enforcement is an attack on all of us.
Well, I think this is actually one moment when you can say that both Trump and Hillary have held back in terms of the harsh rhetoric that we know, especially Trump is capable of, and Trump, especially on the racial front, is given to saying, I think, inflammatory things. That what's key here, I think, is this sense that the president, who previously had been very clear in saying, you know what, the African-American community feels that they're unfairly targeted by police, subject to unfair treatment. You did not hear that in this statement today. It's a totally different tone, and I think he's now solely focused on the danger that comes from people taking violent action against law enforcement instead of plugging into previously the idea of peaceful protest, peaceful expression of grievance against the government.